The bullet hit the driver before Evangeline heard the shot. She watched him jerk forward, watched his hands fly up and release the reins, watched him tumble from the box seat like a puppet with cut strings. The horses screamed. The coach lurched sideways. And in that moment between heartbeats, Evangeline Mercer understood with perfect clarity that she was about to die. The wooden bridge groaned beneath them. Redemption Creek churned 20 feet below, swollen with early snowmelt from the San Juan Mountains. October in Colorado Territory meant the water ran fast and cold enough to stop a human heart in minutes. Evangeline had read that once in one of her sister's investigative pieces about mountain deaths. Lily had always been thorough with her research. Lily, who was 6 months dead in a Missouri grave. The coach tilted. Mrs. Patterson, the elderly woman across from Evangeline, clutched at the window frame. Her husband tried to brace them both. The salesman, George Kemp, swore and grabbed for his hat, as if that mattered, as if anything mattered now except the 5 masked riders closing in from both sides of the bridge. 4 of them moved with the precision of men who had done this before. The 5th hung back his horse, dancing nervously, his gun drawn but pointed at the ground instead of the passengers. Even through the mask, Evangeline could see his youth, 25 at most. His hands shook on the reins. Evangeline's fingers found the carpet bag at her feet. Inside, wrapped in a shawl, lay everything that remained of Lily's final investigation. Notes, names, dates, proof of corruption that stretched from Missouri to the mining camps of Colorado, a web of bribery and murder that had cost her sister everything. The first rider reached the coach. He wore no bandana like the outlaws in dime novels, just a black cloth tied across the lower half of his face, expensive leather gloves, and a pearl-handled revolver that caught the afternoon sun. He aimed it directly at Evangeline. "Evangeline Mercer," he said. His voice carried the refined accent of education of Eastern schools and drawing rooms. "Your sister sends her regards from hell." The words hit harder than any bullet could. Evangeline's blood turned to ice water. They knew. They had always known. The careful disguise, the ticket purchased under a false name, the mail-order bride papers she had forged to explain a single woman traveling west alone. None of it had mattered. She found her voice somewhere in the wreckage of her shock. "Lily is dead because of you. And now you join her." He fired. Evangeline threw herself sideways as the window exploded in a shower of glass. Mrs. Patterson screamed. The coach door flew open, whether from the violence or by design, Evangeline would never know, and hands grabbed her. Strong hands. Cruel hands. She fought. God, how she fought. Her nails found flesh beneath a sleeve. Someone cursed. But there were 3 of them now, and she was one woman in a heavy traveling dress and button-up boots made for city streets, not survival. They dragged her to the edge of the bridge. "Wait." The refined voice, again the leader. He rode closer, leaned down from his saddle. Even through the mask, Evangeline could see his eyes. Blue, cold, empty of everything except calculation. He reached into his vest and withdrew something. A silver ring worn on his smallest finger. She saw it clearly in the seconds before he struck her across the face. Saw the engraving on the signet, the letters V and L intertwined. "Tell your father, the senator, hello in hell," he said softly. "Oh, that's right. You already did." Then they threw her over the railing. As she fell, Evangeline saw the 5th rider turn his horse sharply away. Saw him holster his weapon. Could not watch his body language, said. Would not be part of this murder. Then the water rose up to meet her, and all thought vanished. The fall seemed to last forever, and no time at all. Evangeline saw the sky, saw the bridge above her, saw the faces of the killers already turning away because she was no longer a threat. Just another problem solved. Another witness, silenced. The water hit like a fist. Cold. So cold it drove the air from her lungs in a single shocked gasp. The creek swallowed her, pulled her down, and the weight of her skirts became an anchor dragging her toward the rocky bottom. She kicked. Her boots, designed for drawing rooms and tea parties, filled with water and grew heavy as stones. Above her, distorted by the current, she saw muzzle flashes. They were shooting into the water, making sure. The bullets made strange trails through the creek's silvery paths that twisted and dissipated into nothing. Evangeline's lungs screamed for air. She clawed at her skirts trying to shed the weight, but her fingers were already going numb. The cold was winning. It always won this high in the mountains, this late in the year. She thought of Lily. Lily, who had been so alive, so fierce, so certain that the truth mattered more than safety. Lily, who had written her final letter 3 days before the men came. "Ava, if anything happens to me, finish what I started. Don't let them win." But Evangeline was drowning, and the men were winning, and the truth was going to die with her in this freezing creek in the middle of nowhere. Her vision began to narrow. Gray crept in from the edges, soft and welcoming. The cold didn't hurt anymore. That was the danger she remembered distantly. When the cold stopped hurting, you were almost gone. Lily's face appeared in her mind. Not the corpse in the coffin, but Lily as she had been, laughing, alive, telling stories about corrupt officials and truly believing that journalism could change the world. "I'm sorry," Evangeline thought. "I tried. I'm so sorry." The gray swallowed everything. And then, impossibly, there was light. Not the soft gray of drowning, but real light, sharp and bright and painful. Hands gripped her under the arms. She was moving, being pulled, dragged through water that fought to keep her. Her head broke the surface and she tried to breathe but could only cough, could only choke on the creek water flooding her throat and lungs. The hands did not let go. Evangeline felt gravel beneath her back, felt air on her face. Someone turned her roughly onto her side and she vomited creek water and bile, her body convulsing with the need to expel the poison of Redemption Creek from her lungs. "Breathe," a man's voice, rough as the gravel beneath her, commanding. "Damn it, breathe." She tried to obey, failed, tried again. A rattling gasp filled her chest. Not enough, never enough, but something. "That's it. Again." Evangeline opened her eyes. A man knelt beside her. 30s maybe, though the lines around his eyes and the silver threading his dark hair suggested a hard life that aged a person faster than years alone. He was soaked to the skin, water streaming from his clothes and hair, his face set in an expression somewhere between fury and fear. "Don't," she managed to whisper. The word came out broken, barely audible. "Let them find me." Then consciousness fled like smoke, and Evangeline Mercer drowned in darkness for the second time that day. Jesse Calhoun had not intended to save anyone. He had been riding the creek line, checking his traps for beaver and mink before the first real snow closed the high country for winter. The pelts would bring enough money to see him through till spring, assuming the trading post in Redemption Creek still gave fair prices, assuming anything in that corrupt excuse for a town could still be called fair. The gunshots had echoed off the canyon walls, sharp cracks that spoke of violence and death. Jesse's first instinct had been to turn his horse the other way. Not his business. Not his problem. He had learned 3 years ago that caring about other people's problems got you nothing but pain and a grave to dig. But then he had seen the body in the water, face up, floating downstream in the current. A woman, young. Her dark hair spread around her head like seaweed, her traveling dress billowing with trapped air that would not keep her afloat much longer. Jesse had reined in his horse and sat frozen for 10 full seconds, watching the body drift closer. He told himself it was already too late, told himself that whoever she was beyond help, beyond saving, beyond anything except a decent burial if someone bothered to pull her from the creek. But then an image flashed through his mind, unbidden and unwelcome. Another woman. Another death. Catherine lying in their bed with blood on the sheets and her hand reaching for his, her voice barely a whisper. "Jesse, please, don't let me die alone." He had failed her, failed to save her, failed to even understand what was happening until it was too late and she was gone and their unborn child with her. This woman in the creek was not Catherine, could never be Catherine, but she was someone's daughter, someone's sister, and she was dying right in front of him. Jesse dismounted and waded in. The current was stronger than it looked, trying to sweep his legs out from under him. The woman had drifted into the shallows near the bank, caught temporarily on a submerged log. Jesse grabbed her under the arms and hauled her toward shore, his boots slipping on the rocky bottom. She was dead weight, not breathing, skin already blue tinged from the cold. He dragged her onto the gravel bank and turned her on her side. Water poured from her mouth and nose. He struck her back hard the way he had seen the company doctor do once for a drowned soldier pulled from a river crossing. More water came up. Still no breath. Jesse rolled her onto her back and placed his hands on her chest, pressing hard over her heart. He had no idea if this would work, had only the vaguest memory of a field surgeon explaining something about getting the lungs working again, but he had to try. Press, release, press, release. Breathe, he told her, told the universe, told God if there was one. Damn it, breathe. On the fifth compression she convulsed. Water erupted from her throat. She coughed a terrible wet sound and dragged in a rattling gasp of air. Jesse turned her on her side again as she vomited creek water and bile. Her whole body shook with the cold and the shock. He stripped off his coat, already soaked but still warmer than nothing, and wrapped it around her shoulders. She opened her eyes. They were brown, he noticed, deep brown like creek stones, and full of a terror so profound it made his chest ache. "Don't," she whispered. "Let them find me." Then her eyes rolled back and she went limp. Jesse checked her pulse. Weak but steady. She was alive, but she would not stay that way long, not with the cold and the shock and whatever other injuries she might have sustained in the attack or the fall. The attack. That was when Jesse heard the horses. He looked up sharply. Through the cottonwoods lining the creek he saw riders on the bridge upstream. 4 of them masked, scanning the water, looking for her, making sure their work was finished. Jesse made a decision in the space between heartbeats. He grabbed the woman and half-carried, half-dragged her into the shelter of a rocky overhang 20 yards from the creek bank. Dense brush concealed the opening. He pushed through, ignoring the thorns that tore at his clothes, and laid her down in the dry space beneath the rocks. She was unconscious. Good. That meant she would not make noise. Jesse positioned himself at the edge of the brush and waited. The riders came slowly, picking their way down from the bridge. They were looking for a body, Jesse realized, looking to confirm their kill. One of them, the leader by the way the others deferred to him, dismounted and walked along the creek bank. Jesse's hand found the knife at his belt. 4 against 1 were bad odds, but he had fought worse in the war. If it came to killing, he could take at least 2 before they got him, maybe 3 if luck ran his way. The leader stopped 10 feet from Jesse's hiding place. Through the gaps in the brush, Jesse could see him clearly. Expensive clothes beneath the duster, good boots, that pearl-handled revolver holstered at his hip. "See anything?" one of the others called from horseback. "Current strong," the leader said. His voice was cultured, educated, not the rough speech of a common outlaw. "Body could be a mile downstream by now." "Should we keep looking?" The leader scanned the creek one more time. His gaze passed over Jesse's hiding place without pausing. "No. If the bullets did not kill her, the cold will. She's done." Jesse held perfectly still, did not breathe, did not move. After what felt like an hour but was probably less than a minute, the leader remounted. The 4 riders turned their horses and headed back toward the bridge, back toward Redemption Creek and whatever hell they had crawled out of. Jesse waited until the sound of hoofbeats faded completely before he moved. The woman was still unconscious, still shivering despite his coat wrapped around her. Her lips had gone from blue to purple. She needed warmth, needed shelter, needed medical attention that Jesse could not provide here by the creek. His line cabin was 5 miles north, hidden in a fold of the mountains where no one ever came looking. Remote enough that the riders would not find it. Close enough that he could get her there before the cold finished what the drowning had started. Jesse picked her up. She weighed almost nothing, all bones and wet fabric. He carried her to where his horse waited, patient and well-trained enough not to spook at the smell of creek water and fear. Mounting with an unconscious woman in his arms took some doing, but Jesse managed. He settled her across the saddle in front of him, one arm locked around her waist to keep her from falling. "Don't you die on me," he told her as he turned the horse north. I did not pull you out of that creek just to bury you in the woods." She did not respond, just shivered against his chest, her breathing shallow and rapid. Jesse urged the horse into a steady trot and tried not to think about Catherine, about another woman dying in his arms, about how he had sworn after losing her that he would never care about anyone ever again. He tried not to think about the fact that he had just broken that promise. The line cabin was exactly as Jesse had left it that morning. One-room log walls chinked with mud and moss, a stone fireplace, a narrow cot in the corner, a table and 2 chairs that he had built himself, shelves holding supplies for the long weeks he spent up here away from the world, away from Redemption Creek and its poison. He kicked the door open and carried the woman inside. She had started coughing during the ride, which Jesse took as a good sign. Coughing meant breathing. Breathing meant alive. He laid her on the cot and went immediately to build a fire in the hearth. The wood was dry. The kindling caught quickly, and within minutes flames crackled and threw heat into the small space. Not enough. She was soaked through, shivering so hard her teeth chattered loud enough to hear across the room. Jesse had seen men die of cold during the war. Knew the signs. Knew that wet clothes would kill her as surely as a bullet if he did not get them off her. He turned away and dug through his supplies for blankets. Found 2. They would have to do. This is not. I am not. Jesse stopped, shook his head. Talking to an unconscious woman in an empty cabin. He was losing his mind. 3 years of solitude had finally broken something in his brain. He turned back to her and steeled himself. This was survival, nothing more. He had stripped wounded soldiers in field hospitals, had tended injuries that would make most men faint. This was the same, had to be the same. Jesse unlaced her boots and pulled them off. They were fine leather city made completely unsuited for mountain travel. Water poured out of them. He set them by the fire to dry. Her stockings came next. Then, with his jaw clenched and his eyes focused anywhere except where they wanted to look, he unfastened the buttons of her traveling dress. The fabric was heavy wool, expensive, and completely waterlogged. It took forever to work each button free. When he finally peeled the dress away, he found layers beneath. A corset laced tight. A chemise. Petticoats. How did women breathe in all this? Jesse worked methodically, removing each layer and replacing it with one of the dry blankets. He kept his touch clinical, impersonal, the way the field surgeons had taught him. When he finished, the woman was wrapped cocoon like in wool blankets, only her face visible. Her face. Jesse allowed himself to really look at her for the first time. Mid-20s, he guessed. Dark hair tangled and still damp falling across the pillow. Strong features, a firm jaw, a mouth that probably smiled easily when not blue from near drowning. There was a bruise forming on her left cheek where someone had struck her, and there on her right temple the faint scar of an old injury. A thin white line that spoke of violence survived. Who was she? Why had those men tried to kill her? "Don't let them find me," she had said, which meant they were looking, which meant Jesse had just painted a target on his own back by saving her. He should have left her in the creek. The thought came unbidden and unwelcome but honest. Jesse Calhoun had survived 3 years in this territory by minding his own business, keeping his head down and trusting no one. One act of mercy, and he had thrown all of that away. The woman stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, unfocused and confused. "Where?" Her voice was barely a whisper, raw from the creek water she had swallowed. "Who?" "You are safe," Jesse said, though he was not entirely sure that was true. "You are in my cabin. Those men are gone." "Safe." She tried to sit up, fell back against the pillow. "Not safe. Never. They will. They think you are dead. I heard them say so." That seemed to reach her. She blinked, turned her head to look at him properly. Recognition flared in her eyes. You pulled me out." "Yes." "Why?" It was a good question. Jesse did not have a good answer. "Did not think about it," he lied. She studied his face for a long moment. Even half frozen and barely conscious, there was something sharp in her gaze. Intelligence. Will. "Thank you." she said finally. Jessie nodded once, uncomfortable with gratitude. You need rest. And warmth. We can talk later. No. She tried to sit up again, managed it this time through what looked like sheer stubbornness. The blankets fell to her waist and she grabbed them quickly, holding them to her chest. I need my bag from the coach. Did you? There was no bag, just you in the water. Her face crumpled. For a moment Jessie thought she might cry, but then she set her jaw and swallowed whatever emotion threatened to break through. They took it, she said. Of course they took it. They knew. They always knew. Who are you? The woman looked at him. Something passed behind her eyes. Calculation, maybe. Or fear. When she spoke again, her voice was steadier. My name is Sarah, she said. It was a lie. Jessie could hear it in the slight hesitation, the way her gaze slid away from his. Sarah Morgan. I was traveling to Redemption Creek to meet someone. Mail order bride, Jessie guessed. It was the only reason single women came to mining towns alone. Yes. Another lie, smoother this time. But the coach was attacked. Bandits, I suppose. They killed the driver. The others I do not know if they lived. Yes. Jessie considered telling her the truth. That those were not bandits. That they had known her name, had come specifically for her. That they had called her Evangeline Mercer, not Sarah Morgan. But if she wanted to lie to him, that was her business. He had his own truths he did not share. You should rest, he said again. You nearly died today, twice. I know. She pulled the blankets tighter and Jessie saw her hands shaking, not from cold this time, but from the delayed shock catching up. I remember. The water, the cold. I thought. But you did not. No. She met his eyes again. Thanks to you, Mr. Calhoun. Jessie Calhoun. Jessie. She said his name like she was testing it, seeing how it felt in her mouth. Thank you, Jessie, for not letting me drown. Something in his chest pulled tight at the sound of his name in her voice. Jessie stood abruptly, putting distance between them. Get some rest, Sarah Morgan, he said. The emphasis on the false name was slight, but she heard it. Her eyes widened fractionally. We will figure out what to do with you in the morning. He turned away and busied himself with stoking the fire, giving her privacy to settle back under the blankets. Behind him, he heard her breathing slow, heard the exhaustion pull her down into sleep. Jessie sat at the table and stared into the flames. He had saved her life. That was done, could not be undone. Now he had to decide what came next. Take her to Redemption Creek and deliver her to whoever she claimed to be meeting. That would be the smart thing, the safe thing. But those men had tried to kill her, and something told Jessie that Redemption Creek was the last place Sarah Morgan, or whatever her real name was, should go. Outside the wind picked up. The first snow of the season was coming. Jessie could smell it in the air. Once it started, the passes would close. Anyone in the high country would be trapped until spring. Anyone, including a woman who should be dead, and the man fool enough to save her. Jessie looked over at the cot. She was sleeping now, her face peaceful despite everything. In the firelight he could see the rise and fall of her breathing beneath the blankets. Steady. Alive. He thought about Catherine, about how he had failed to save her. About the letter she had left him, the one he had burned in a rage of grief because he could not face what it meant. If anything happens to me, it is not an accident. VL knows too much. VL. Victor Thornhill. The man who owned Redemption Creek the way a spider owned its web. The man who had killed Catherine because she had seen something known, something been brave enough to care about something beyond her own survival. The same way Jessie suspected this woman lying in his cabin had seen something known, something been brave or foolish enough to come to Colorado looking for answers. He should throw her out, should put her on a horse at first light and point her toward Denver and tell her to run and never look back. But he would not. Jessie Calhoun had failed to save his wife, had failed to even believe her when she told him she was in danger. That failure had haunted him for 3 years, had driven him to this cabin in the mountains where he could be alone with his guilt and his rage. Maybe he could not fix that, could not bring Catherine back or punish the man who had killed her. But he could keep this woman alive, could give her a chance to do whatever she had come here to do, and maybe if God had any mercy left, that would be enough to quiet the ghosts. Morning came cold and clear. Jesse woke to find the woman already awake, sitting up on the cot with the blankets wrapped around her shoulders. She was watching him with those sharp brown eyes, calculating. "You are not just a trapper," she said without preamble. Jesse sat up from where he had dozed in the chair by the dying fire. His back ached. He was getting too old to sleep sitting up. "What makes you say that? The way you carry yourself, the scars on your hands. You have been a soldier." She was observant. That was dangerous. "Former cavalry scout," Jesse admitted. "Served in the territories before the war ended. Been ranching since. And trapping. And trapping. Where is your ranch?" "Not far from Redemption Creek." He stood, stretched, tried to work the kinks out of his spine. "You hungry?" "Starving." Jesse moved to the shelves and pulled down hardtack and jerky. Not much, but it would keep them alive. He handed her a piece of each and watched as she ate with the focused intensity of someone who had gone too long without food. When she finished, she looked at him directly. "You know I lied to you." "Yes." "Are you going to ask me for the truth?" Jesse considered. "Do you want to tell it?" "No." She pulled the blankets tighter. "But I think I have to. You saved my life. You deserve to know why." "I do not need to know anything except whether those men are going to come looking for you here." "They will not. They think I am dead." She paused. "They think I drowned in Redemption Creek. Ironic, is it not? That is exactly what happened except for the part where I survived. Thanks to dumb luck and bad timing on my part." A ghost of a smile touched her mouth. "Yes, thank you for your dumb luck." Jesse pulled the other chair closer and sat. "Tell me what you want to tell me, or do not. But decide fast, because by tomorrow that snow is going to hit, and we will be stuck in this cabin for at least a week. I would rather know if I am harboring a criminal or a corpse that does not know it yet." She took a breath. When she spoke, her voice was different, stronger. "My name is not Sarah Morgan. It is Evangeline Mercer, Eva. My sister was Lily Mercer." The name meant nothing to Jesse. He shook his head. "Lily was a journalist," Eva continued, "an investigative reporter in Missouri. She wrote about corruption, about politicians taking bribes, about businesses exploiting workers. She was fearless. Was, past tense. Jesse understood before she said it. She was murdered 6 months ago. The official story was a robbery, but I was there. I saw." Eva's voice cracked. "I was hiding. I saw the man who killed her. He wore expensive clothes, spoke like he had been to university, and before he shot her he said, Thornhill sends his regards." Jesse went very still. "Thornhill. You know the name?" "Everyone in Colorado knows Victor Thornhill. He owns the largest silver mine in the territory, owns half the politicians in Denver, owns Redemption Creek." "Yes." Eva's hands clenched in the blankets. "After Lily died, I went through her papers, found notes about an investigation she was conducting. Corruption in the Colorado mining industry, bribes, payoffs, unsafe working conditions covered up, and at the center of it all, Victor Thornhill." "So you came here?" "I came here to find proof, to finish what Lily started. I had her notes, her sources, everything she had compiled. I was going to get more evidence and take it to the federal marshals in Denver." "You were going to take down Victor Thornhill?" Jesse could not keep the disbelief out of his voice. "Alone?" "Someone had to." Eva's eyes flashed with anger and grief. "She was my sister, and those men, they killed her for trying to expose the truth. I could not let that go." Jesse stood and walked to the fireplace. He stared into the cold ashes and tried to sort through the storm of thoughts in his head. "How did they know?" he asked finally. "That you were coming here, that you were on that coach?" "I do not know. I was careful, used a false name to buy the ticket, told no one where I was going, but somehow they knew." She paused. One of them called me by name, Evangeline Mercer, and he said my father, the senator, sent his regards from hell. Jesse turned. Your father is a senator. Was. William Ashford. He represented Missouri in the territorial legislature. Eva's voice went hollow. He was killed 3 weeks ago. Officially a burglary gone wrong. But I know better now. I know Thornhill had him killed too. The pieces were falling into place in Jesse's mind, forming a picture he did not want to see. Your father was investigating Thornhill. No, Lily was investigating Thornhill, but when she died, my father took up her work. He had contacts, power, resources she did not. He was building a case. And then... She stopped, swallowed. And then he died, just like her. And you think Thornhill is behind both murders. I know he is. The man who came to our house the night my father died, he wore a ring. Silver with the initials V and L on it. The same ring I saw yesterday when those men threw me off the bridge. Jesse's blood ran cold. He knew that ring. Had seen it on Victor Thornhill's hand at Catherine's funeral when the mine owner had come to pay his respects like a mourner instead of a murderer. He turned away from Eva and gripped the mantel of the fireplace. His hands shook. Jesse, Eva's voice was tentative. What is it? My wife, he said. The words came out rough, forced through a throat gone tight. Catherine. She died 2 years ago. Officially it was complications from childbirth, hemorrhaging, natural causes. But it was not. No. Jesse reached up to the mantel where a photograph had once stood. He had put it away, unable to bear looking at Catherine's face, but he could still see her in his mind, still hear her voice. She left me a letter. Before she died, it said if anything happened to her it was not an accident. It said VL knew too much. She said I should be careful. The silence stretched between them, heavy with understanding. VL, Eva said softly. Victor Thornhill. I burned the letter. Jesse's voice was hollow. I was so angry, so broken by losing her. I thought she was paranoid, thought the pregnancy had made her imagine threats that were not real. So I burned it. Burned the only evidence she left me. What did she know? What had she seen? She was a school teacher, taught the miners' children in Redemption Creek. She went down into the mines, sometimes brought books for the children whose fathers worked underground. Jesse closed his eyes. She must have seen something, heard something, and Thornhill found out. So he killed her. So he killed her. Jesse turned back to face Eva. And her child. Our child. Because Catherine knew too much. The firelight cast shadows across Eva's face. She looked older suddenly, tired, but there was steel in her eyes when she spoke. Then we are the same, you and I. Both of us lost someone to Victor Thornhill. Both of us came to Colorado for answers. I came here to hide, Jesse corrected. I have been hiding for 2 years. Living in this cabin, avoiding town, pretending that if I stayed away from Redemption Creek, I could escape what happened there. But you cannot escape it. No. He met her gaze. Neither can you. Those men will keep looking for you. And even if they believe you drowned, Thornhill will not rest easy until he has proof. A body. Evidence. Then what do I do? It was the question Jesse had been avoiding all night. The smart answer was obvious. Put her on a horse, give her supplies, send her back east where Thornhill's reach did not extend. That was the safe choice, the reasonable choice. But Jesse Calhoun had not made a reasonable choice in 3 years. Not since Catherine died. Not since he failed her. We go to Redemption Creek, he said. Eva's eyes widened. That is insane. If Thornhill's men are there, if he sees me, he will not see you, because you will be someone else. A different name, a different appearance. Someone no one would ever suspect of being Senator Ashford's daughter. Who? Jesse thought of the one person in Redemption Creek he still trusted, the one person who hated Victor Thornhill as much as he did. I know someone, he said. Someone who can help. Someone who has as much reason as we do to want Thornhill brought down. Who? Her name is Mei Ling Zhao. She runs a laundry in town. Her husband died in one of Thornhill's mines 4 years ago. An accident, they said, but Mei Ling knows better. Eva stood still, clutching the blankets around her shoulders. You want me to hide in plain sight, in Thornhill's own town? It is the last place he would look for you. And if we are going to get proof, real proof, that will stand up to federal marshals, we need access to Redemption Creek, to the mine, to Thornhill's records. This is madness. Yes, Jesse agreed. But it is the only chance we have. You want justice for your sister, I want it for my wife. And the only way we get it is if we work together. Eva studied him for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. All right, she said. When do we leave? Tomorrow, after the snow comes. It will cover our tracks, make it harder for anyone to follow. Jesse moved to the shelves and started gathering supplies. We will go to Mei Ling. She will help you become someone else. Someone safe. And then we find the proof your sister died for. We get it to people who can act on it. And we make Victor Thornhill pay for every life he has taken. Eva sat down on the cot, her face set with determination. My sister always said the truth matters more than anything, that bringing evil into the light was worth any risk. Was she right? I do not know yet. Eva looked up at him. But I am going to find out. Outside, the wind began to rise. The smell of snow grew stronger. By nightfall, the mountains would be white and the passes closed, and anyone trapped in the high country would have no choice but to wait out the storm. Jesse looked at the woman he had saved, this senator's daughter, who had come to Colorado with nothing but grief and determination. He thought about Catherine, about the letter he had burned, about 3 years of running from the truth. Maybe it was time to stop running. Maybe it was time to fight back. The snow began to fall just after dark. Jesse and Eva sat by the fire and made their plans. By morning, Redemption Creek would be white and clean and beautiful. A fresh start. And underneath that snow, underneath that beauty, Victor Thornhill's empire waited, built on blood and lies and the bodies of people who had dared to care about the truth. But Eva Mercer was not dead. Not yet. And Jesse Calhoun was done hiding. The reckoning was coming to Redemption Creek. It would arrive on horseback through the snow, carried by a dead woman and a man with nothing left to lose. Victor Thornhill had no idea what he had started when he tried to drown Evangeline Mercer, but he was about to find out. The snow fell for 3 days. Jesse and Eva waited in the line cabin while the world turned white outside. They did not speak much. There was little to say that had not already been said, and words felt dangerous now, as if speaking their plans aloud might somehow curse them. On the 4th morning, the sky cleared to a blue so sharp it hurt to look at. Jesse saddled his horse and helped Eva mount behind him. She wore his spare shirt and trousers, her hair tucked up under a wide-brimmed hat. From a distance she could pass for a young man. Up close there was no hiding the delicate bones of her face, the curve of her mouth. But they would not be close, not if Jesse's plan worked. Redemption. Creek looked peaceful under its blanket of snow. Smoke rose from chimneys in neat columns. The mine works sat silent on the hillside, the great wheel that hauled ore to the surface still and frozen. Sunday. Even in a town owned by greed, the Sabbath meant rest. Jesse guided his horse through the back streets, avoiding the main road where eyes might notice and remember. He stopped behind a narrow building with steam rising from its windows and a faded sign in both English and Chinese characters. Chen Laundry. He dismounted and helped Eva down. Stay here, he told her. If anyone comes, ride north. Follow the creek until you find the canyon with 3 dead pines. Wait there. Jesse. Her hand caught his arm. Be careful. He nodded and went to the back door. Mei Ling Zhao answered his knock with a cleaver in her hand and suspicion in her eyes. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but Jesse had seen her face down drunk miners twice her size without flinching. Survival in Redemption Creek required a backbone of steel. Jesse Calhoun, she said in accented English. You do not come to town. Why now? I need your help, Mei Ling. It is important. Her eyes narrowed. She looked past him to where Eva waited with the horse saw the shape of a person in men's clothes. "Who is that?" "Someone Victor Thornhill tried to kill." Mei Ling's expression did not change, but something flickered behind her eyes. She stepped back and opened the door wider. "Come, both of you, quickly." The laundry was warm and humid, thick with the smell of lye soap and steam. Eva followed Jessie inside, her hat still pulled low. Mei Ling locked the door and turned to face them. "Show me," she said to Eva. Eva removed her hat. Her dark hair fell loose around her shoulders. Mei Ling studied her face for a long moment. Then she looked at Jessie. "Thornhill tried to kill a woman. This is not new. Why do you bring her to me?" "Because she has proof," Jessie said. "Proof of what he did to your husband. Proof of all of it." "Proof." Mei Ling's voice went flat. "I have known for 4 years what Victor Thornhill is. Knowing changes nothing." "It can," Eva said quietly. "If we get it to the right people. Federal marshals, the territorial governor." "You are naive." Mei Ling moved to the stove and poured tea with sharp, angry movements. "Thornhill owns the marshals, owns the governor, owns everyone who matters." "Not everyone," Jessie said. "Not you, not me." Mei Ling set down the teapot hard enough that liquid sloshed over the rim. "We do not matter, Jesse Calhoun. People like us never matter to people like him." "My sister thought differently," Eva said. "She was a journalist. She investigated Thornhill's operation. He had her killed for it. Then he killed my father when he tried to continue her work. Then he tried to kill me." Mei Ling turned slowly. "Your sister was a journalist." "Lily Mercer. She wrote for the Missouri Observer." Something shifted in Mei Ling's face. Recognition. "I know this name. My husband, he talked about her. Said she was writing about the mines, about safety violations, about the cave-in that killed 14 men. She looked at Jessie. "The cave-in that killed Jiang Wei." "Thornhill covered it up," Eva said. "Used bad timber to save money. Knew the supports would fail. Let men die rather than admit fault. My sister documented everything. And now she is dead." "Yes. So what good did her truth do?" The question hung in the humid air. Eva met Mei Ling's gaze without flinching. "It brought me here. It brought Jessie to pull me from that creek. It brought us to your door. Maybe that is enough." Mei Ling was silent for a long time. Then she sighed, a sound like all the weariness in the world escaping at once. "What do you need from me?" "A new identity," Jessie said. "Work in the laundry, a place to hide while we gather evidence." "You want her in town, where Thornhill's men are?" "It is the last place they will look. They think she drowned." "Do they?" Mei Ling circled Eva, examining her the way she might examine a difficult stain. "She does not look like laundry girl. Too soft, too clean." "I can learn," Eva said. "Can you keep your mouth shut? Can you bow your head when men speak to you like you are nothing? Can you make yourself invisible?" "I have been invisible my whole life," Eva said quietly. "It is what women learn first." Mei Ling's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Sit. I will make you invisible in a different way." She worked quickly and efficiently. Scissors flashed. Eva's long dark hair fell in waves to the floor. What remained was short and choppy, boyish. Mei Ling mixed something in a bowl, a paste that smelled sharp and chemical. She worked it through Eva's hair with rough fingers. "This will lighten," she said. "Make you look different. Irish girl maybe, fresh from Boston." "I can do an accent," Eva offered. "Then do it now. Practice until it is natural, until you dream in that voice." While the dye set, Mei Ling brought out clothes, a simple dress, worn but clean, an apron, sturdy boots. "You are Rose Murphy," she said. "From Boston, no family. Came west looking for work. I hired you last week. This is your story. Remember it." Eva dressed behind a screen. When she emerged, Jessie barely recognized her. The short, lighter hair changed the shape of her face. The plain dress and apron made her look younger, less refined. Someone who worked with her hands, someone forgettable. "It is good," Mei Ling said, "but you must remember. Do not look men in the eye. Do not speak unless spoken to. You are a servant. Servants are invisible. This is how you survive." "I understand." "Do you—" Mei Ling's voice was sharp. "Your sister did not understand. She looked too closely, she asked too many questions, and now she is dead." "I know." "Then be smarter than she was. Be smaller. Be quieter." Mei Ling turned to Jesse. "You cannot come here, cannot be seen with her. If Thornhill's men connect you to Rose Murphy, they will know." Jesse nodded. It made sense, but he hated it. Hated the idea of leaving Eva alone in this town full of vipers. "I will be fine," Eva said, reading his face. "I am not helpless, Jesse. I am not Catherine." The name landed like a blow. Jesse flinched. "I am sorry," Eva said quickly. "I should not have." "No." Jesse's voice was rough. "You are right. You are not Catherine. Catherine was kind and trusting and good. That is why they killed her. You." He looked at Eva's new face, her disguise, the steel in her eyes. "You are something else." "What am I?" "Dangerous," Jesse said, "to yourself and everyone around you." Eva smiled. It was not a happy expression. "Good." That evening, Eva worked in the laundry while Jesse rode to the mine. He found Henry Polk in the supervisor's office, hunched over ledgers with a bottle of whiskey at his elbow. Polk was older than Jesse by 20 years, his face lined with exhaustion and something darker. Defeat, maybe, or guilt. "Calhoun," Polk said without looking up. "What brings you to the mine on a Sunday?" "Selling horses. Heard you need new draft animals for the ore carts." "Thornhill does not buy on Sundays. Come back tomorrow." "I will." Jesse moved closer, keeping his voice low. "But I am not here about horses, Henry. I am here about Catherine." Polk's pen stopped moving. He did not look up. "Your wife has been dead 2 years, Jesse. Let her rest." "She cannot rest, not while the man who killed her walks free." "That is a dangerous thing to say." "It is the truth." Polk finally raised his head. His eyes were bloodshot and weary. "Even if it were true, what would you have me do? I am a mine supervisor, Jesse. I keep Thornhill's books. I make sure the ore gets processed and the payroll gets paid. I am not a lawman." "No, but you know things. You have seen things." "I have seen nothing." "You are a terrible liar, Henry." Polk stood abruptly. He moved to the door, checked that they were alone, then closed it. When he turned back, his face had changed. The weariness was still there, but underneath it Jesse saw something else. Fear. 3 days ago, Polk said quietly, a stagecoach was attacked on the road from Durango. Official report says bandits. 4 passengers and the driver killed. Bodies swept away by the creek. Jesse kept his expression neutral. "I heard something about that." One of the passengers was a woman, young, dark hair, traveling alone, which is unusual. Polk's eyes met Jesse's. "Caleb Strange and 3 of Thornhill's men left town that morning. Came back that evening. Caleb had blood on his cuff." "Could have been anything." "Could have been." Polk moved back to his desk. "But the next day Thornhill was in a good mood, better than I have seen him in months. He sent a telegram to someone in Missouri. The message said, and I quote, 'The Mercer matter is resolved. Proceed as planned.'" Jesse's blood ran cold. Mercer, Eva's sister's name, her father's name. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked. "Because you loved your wife, because she was good to the miners' children, because she died trying to do the right thing and I did nothing to help her." Polk's voice cracked. "I knew Jesse. About the cave-in, about the bad timber, about all of it. I kept Thornhill's real books, the ones that showed him cutting costs and putting men at risk. Catherine found copies. She was going to take them to the territorial governor. And you let him kill her." "I have a daughter in Denver." Polk's hands shook as he poured more whiskey. "Thornhill made it clear. I talk and Mary has an accident. What would you have done?" Jesse thought about Eva, about the choice he had made to help her, about the danger he was putting them both in. "I would have fought." Easy to say when you have already lost everything. Polk drank straight from the bottle. I am a coward, Jesse. I know that. But I am a living coward with a living daughter. That has to count for something. Does it help you sleep at night? Nothing helps me sleep at night. Polk set down the bottle. But if you are planning what I think you are planning, you should know. Thornhill keeps his real records in a lockbox in his mansion, not here at the mine, the house on the hill, in his study. How do you know? Because I am the one who put them there, before I got demoted for my convenient drinking problem. Polk's smile was bitter. Thornhill does not trust anyone completely, but he trusts his own home, his own guards. Jesse filed the information away. If I were to get into that study hypothetically, what would I find? Ledgers showing bribes to half the officials in Colorado Territory. Letters ordering removals. That is what he calls them. Removals. Makes it sound clean, does it not? Like taking out trash instead of murdering people. Polk's voice dropped to barely a whisper. Name's Jesse. The lockbox has names. Everyone he has paid. Everyone he has killed. Everything. Including Catherine. Including Catherine. Jesse turned to leave, then stopped. If this works, Henry, if we bring him down, will you testify? Polk looked at him for a long moment. Ask me again when you have the evidence, when you have a real chance. Then I will tell you if my conscience is stronger than my fear. It was not a yes, but it was not a no either. Jesse would take it. He left the mine office and rode back toward town. The sun was setting, painting the snow orange and gold. Beautiful, deceptive, like everything else in Redemption Creek. Ava learned quickly. In 3 days, she transformed from Senator Ashford's daughter into Rose Murphy, Irish immigrant and laundry assistant. She learned to scrub clothes until her hands were raw, learned to bow her head when men spoke to her, learned to make herself small and silent and forgettable. But at night in the back room where she slept, she wrote. Everything Mei Ling told her about the mine, about the accidents, about the men who had died. Everything she overheard from customers who brought their washing. Names, dates, details. She was building a case the way Lily had taught her, carefully, methodically, one piece at a time. On the 4th day, opportunity arrived in an unexpected form. Mei Ling was folding linens when a woman entered the laundry. She was 40 maybe, with elegant clothes that spoke of money and a face that spoke of sorrow poorly hidden. Her posture was perfect, her voice cultured, but her eyes were tired in a way that no amount of sleep could fix. Mrs. Zhao, she said, I hope I am not disturbing you. Mrs. Thornhill, Mei Ling's voice went carefully neutral. What can I do for you? Abigail Thornhill, Victor's wife. Eva kept her head down over the washing tub but listened intently. Our housemaid left rather suddenly, Abigail said. There was something in her tone. Not sadness exactly, but acknowledgement of an ugly truth. I find myself in need of domestic help, someone trustworthy, discreet. You have always provided excellent service. I wondered if you might know of anyone suitable. Mei Ling's eyes flicked to Eva, then back to Abigail. I might. My new assistant, Rose Murphy. She is educated, speaks well, works hard. May I see her? Eva's heart hammered, but she straightened and turned, kept her accent ready, her posture submissive. Abigail studied her with eyes that missed nothing. You are recently arrived. Yes, ma'am. From Boston I am. Been here but a week. Why did you come west, Rose? No family left, ma'am. Thought I might make a new start in the territories. Eva let a little sadness creep into her voice. It was not hard. The sadness was real enough, just for different reasons. Can you read and write? Yes, ma'am. My father was a school teacher before the famine. Abigail's expression softened fractionally. I see. Mrs. Zhao, you vouch for this girl. I do, Mei Ling said. She is honest, hard-working, keeps her head down and her mouth shut. Those are valuable qualities. Abigail turned back to Eva. The position would require you to live in. Room and board provided plus wages. The work is not difficult, but discretion is essential. My family values privacy. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. Then you may start tomorrow. Be at the house on the hill at 7 in the morning. Mrs. Zhao will give you directions. After Abigail left, Mei Ling closed the door and locked it. She looked at Eva with something between approval and concern. You understand what you are doing? Mei Ling asked. Going into the lion's den, Eva said. The last maid who worked there disappeared. Sarah Brennan. Nice girl. Asked too many questions. One day she was there, the next she was gone. Thornhill said she ran off with a minor. No one believed him, but no one could prove otherwise. I will be careful. Careful may not be enough. Mei Ling gripped Ava's shoulders. But you are doing what your sister would have done. That takes courage. Stupid courage, maybe, but courage still. The Thornhill mansion sat on a hill overlooking Redemption Creek like a castle overlooking a kingdom. It was the finest house for 100 miles. 3 stories white painted with columns and a wide porch and windows that caught the morning sun and turned it to gold. Eva climbed the back steps at 7 as instructed. A housekeeper admitted her, a stern woman named Mrs. Fletcher, who showed her to a small room on the 3rd floor. You will rise at 5, Mrs. Fletcher said. Prepare breakfast for the family. Clean the main rooms. Laundry on Tuesdays and Fridays. Dinner service at 6. Bed by 9 unless needed. Mr. Thornhill values punctuality and silence. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. Good. If you have questions, ask me. Do not bother the family, especially not Mr. Thornhill. Eva unpacked her few belongings. The room was small but clean, with a narrow bed and a window that looked down over the town. From here she could see the mine works, the main street, the laundry where Mei Ling would be starting her day. She could see the whole kingdom that Victor Thornhill had built on blood and lies. And somewhere in this house was the lockbox, the proof, the truth that would bring it all down. Eva saw Victor Thornhill for the first time that evening at dinner service. She carried dishes from the kitchen, placed them on the dining room table, kept her eyes down and her movements quiet. But she watched, observed, learned. Thornhill sat at the head of the table in a fine suit, his silver hair gleaming in the lamplight. He was 52, but looked younger with the kind of vigor that came from power and wealth. When he spoke, his voice was warm, educated, almost kind. Abigail, this roast is excellent. Please give Mrs. Fletcher my compliments. I will, dear. Abigail sat at the opposite end of the table, elegant and distant. Between them sat 2 others. A young man of 17, dark-haired and troubled-looking, picking at his food without eating. Jonathan, Thornhill's son, and a little girl of 8 blonde curls and a blue dress, chattering about her lessons. Papa, Miss Davis says I am doing wonderfully with my arithmetic. She says I might be ready for algebra soon. That is my clever girl. Thornhill's face softened when he looked at her, genuine affection unmistakable. Elizabeth, you make me proud every day. Eva's hands tightened on the serving tray. This was the man who had ordered her sister shot, her father killed, Catherine Calhoun poisoned, 14 miners buried alive. This man smiling at his 8-year-old daughter with real love in his eyes. It made him more monstrous somehow, not less. Rose, Mrs. Fletcher's sharp voice. Clear the salad plates. Eva moved mechanically, gathering dishes. As she reached for Jonathan's plate, he looked up at her. Their eyes met for half a second. In that brief moment, Eva saw something in his face. Shame, sorrow, and underneath it a desperate kind of anger. He knew. Somehow Jonathan Thornhill knew what his father was. Thank you, Rose, he said quietly. You are welcome, sir. She retreated to the kitchen with the dishes. Her hands shook as she washed them. The monster had a family, had a wife who stayed despite knowing the truth, if the careful distance in Abigail's manner was any indication. Had a son who looked haunted, had a daughter who adored him. How did you destroy a man who was also a father? How did you tear down an empire when innocent people would be caught in the rubble? Eva did not have answers, but she knew Lily would have said the truth mattered regardless, that justice was not negotiable, that evil wearing a kind face was still evil. After dinner, after the family retired, after Mrs. Fletcher finally went to bed, Eva waited in her room until she heard the house settle into sleep. Then she moved. The study was on the second floor at the end of the hallway. Eva had memorized the layout during her first day, had noted which floorboards creaked, which doors squeaked where the shadows fell deepest. She wore stockings but no shoes, made no sound as she slipped down the stairs and along the corridor. The study door was locked. Eva pulled 2 pins from her hair. Lily had taught her this years ago, a journalist's skill learned from a locksmith source. Eva had never imagined she would need it. The lock clicked open. Inside the study was all dark wood and leather. Books lined the walls. A massive desk dominated the center, and there on a shelf behind the desk sat an iron lockbox. Eva crossed the room, tried the box. Locked, of course. She searched for a key, checked the desk drawers. Nothing. Checked the books for a hidden compartment. Nothing. Tried to force the lock. It was too strong, too well made. She was running out of time, running out of options. That was when she heard footsteps in the hall. Eva froze. The footsteps came closer, stopped outside the study door. The handle turned. Eva dove behind the heavy curtains that covered the window, pressing herself flat against the glass. She stopped breathing. The door opened. Lamplight spilled across the floor. Someone entered. Not the heavy tread of Victor Thornhill. Lighter. Younger. Through a gap in the curtains, Eva saw Jonathan Thornhill. He moved to the desk with the confidence of someone who had done this before, pulled open a drawer, pressed something. A hidden compartment opened. From it, he withdrew a small camera, one of the new portable models, expensive and rare. Then he went to the lockbox. Eva watched in amazement as Jonathan pulled a piece of paper from his pocket. Numbers. A combination. He spun the dial with practiced ease. The lockbox opened. Jonathan began removing documents. One by one he photographed them. Ledgers, letters, records. His hands moved quickly, but his face was twisted with pain, with shame, with the terrible knowledge of what his father had done. Eva made a choice. She stepped out from behind the curtain. Jonathan spun, dropping the camera. It hit the desk with a clatter. "Who?" His voice choked off when he saw her. "Rose." "My name is not Rose," Eva said quietly. "It is Evangeline. Evangeline Mercer." Jonathan's face went white. You are supposed to be dead. Your father tried. It did not work." They stared at each other across the desk. A senator's daughter who should have drowned. A mine owner's son who was betraying his own blood. "Are you going to call for help?" Eva asked. "Are you going to expose what I am doing?" Jonathan countered. "That depends. What are you doing?" Jonathan looked down at the open lockbox at the documents spread across the desk. When he spoke, his voice was hollow. "Trying to stop him. For months now. Documenting everything. Planning to send it to the territorial governor. But I am 17. No one will believe me over him. They will say I am an ungrateful son, that I faked the evidence, that I—" His voice broke. "That I am lying about my own father." "I will believe you," Eva said. "And I have other evidence. Testimony. Witnesses. Names." Jonathan looked up. Hope flickered in his eyes, desperate and fragile. "Who are you, really? A woman whose sister was murdered for investigating your father, whose father was killed for continuing that investigation. Who came to Colorado to finish what they started?" "Lily Mercer," Jonathan whispered. "I read her articles about the mines, about the workers. She was brave. She was my sister." Silence stretched between them. Then Jonathan began gathering the documents. "Take them," he said. "The originals. I have photographs of most of it. He will know someone was here, but I do not care anymore." "Jonathan, if you do this, there is no going back. He is your father. He is a murderer." Jonathan's hands shook as he handed Eva a stack of ledgers. "Sarah Brennan was my friend. The maid who worked here before you. She was kind to me, treated me like a person instead of the heir to an empire. One day she saw something, some papers Father left out. She asked about them. What happened to her? Father had Caleb Strange take her away, said she ran off with a miner, but I found her shawl by the creek 2 days later. Torn, bloody. Tears ran down Jonathan's face. I was 14. I did nothing. I have been doing nothing for 3 years while he kills and calls it business. Eva took the documents with shaking hands. You are doing something now. That takes courage. It takes shame and guilt and knowing that I cannot be my father's son and a decent human being at the same time. Jonathan closed the empty lockbox. Go, now, before he wakes. Come with me. You do not have to stay here. Yes, I do. Someone needs to protect Elizabeth. She is 8. She does not understand what father is. I cannot let her learn the way I did. He managed a broken smile. Go, Evangeline Mercer. Finish what your sister started. Make my father pay for Sarah. For all of them. Eva moved to the door, then stopped. When this is over, when he is brought to justice, you will have a choice. You do not have to be defined by his crimes. Maybe. Jonathan sat down at the desk looking older than 17. Or maybe that is exactly what I will always be. The son of a monster. The boy who knew and stayed. Eva wanted to argue, but she did not have time. She slipped out of the study and back through the dark house, the documents hidden under her nightdress. She had what she came for, but she had also seen something she had not expected. The humanity in the monster's son. The innocence in the monster's daughter. The complexity of a family built on blood money where love and horror existed side by side. It did not change what had to be done, but it made it harder. The next morning Eva woke to shouting. She dressed quickly and went downstairs to find the household in chaos. Victor Thornhill stood in his study, his face purple with rage. Someone was in here. Someone opened my lockbox. Mrs. Fletcher, the housekeeper, stood wringing her hands. Sir, I locked all the doors myself. No one could have. Then it was someone in the house. Thornhill's eyes swept the assembled staff. 3 people, Mrs. Fletcher, the cook, and Rose Murphy, the new maid. His gaze lingered on Eva. You, he said, the new girl. Where were you last night? In my room, sir, sleeping. Eva kept her voice steady, her accent perfect. Can anyone verify that? No, sir. I sleep alone. Thornhill moved closer. Eva forced herself not to step back. He studied her face the way a hawk studies a field mouse. You look familiar, he said slowly. Have we met before? No, sir. I only arrived in Redemption Creek last week. From where? Boston, sir, by way of New York and the railroad. Boston. He said the word like he was tasting it. What brought you west, Rose Murphy? No family left, sir. Thought I might make a new start. They stood close enough that Eva could see the calculation in his eyes, see him trying to place her, trying to reconcile the drowned woman from the creek with this Irish maid in his house. Then Jonathan appeared in the doorway. Father, I am sorry. It was me. Everyone turned. Victor's face went slack with shock. What? I opened the lockbox last night. I needed money, for books. I did not think you would notice a few dollars missing from the cash you keep there. Jonathan's voice was steady despite the lie. I should have asked. I am sorry. For a long moment Victor simply stared at his son. Then his expression shifted to something worse than anger. Disappointment. Jonathan, we will discuss this in private. Now. Father and son left the study. Eva heard raised voices from behind the closed door but could not make out words. When Jonathan emerged 20 minutes later, his face was pale but composed. As he passed Eva in the hall, he whispered without looking at her. Tonight. Midnight. Garden Gate. Be ready to run. Then he was gone. Eva returned to her duties with her heart pounding. Jonathan had just taken the blame for her crime, had just put himself between her and his father's suspicion, had just given her one more reason to finish this, no matter the cost. Midnight found Eva at the garden gate with the documents hidden in a bundle. The night was cold and clear, the moon bright enough to cast shadows. Jonathan appeared from the darkness dressed for riding. "Caleb Strange is suspicious. He saw you earlier, said you looked familiar. Father told him to keep watch on you." "Then I cannot stay." "No. You have to leave now, tonight." Jonathan handed her a horse's reins. "This is my mare. She is fast. Head north along the creek until you reach the line cabin Jesse Calhoun uses for trapping. You know Jesse?" Eva's shock must have shown on her face. "I know more than people think," Jonathan said. "I know Jesse Calhoun's wife was murdered by my father. I know he pulled you from the creek. I know he is helping you." He gave her a sad smile. "Small town. People talk. Especially to the invisible boy in the corner. Jonathan, go. Caleb will realize I am not in my room soon. You have maybe 30 minutes before he raises the alarm." Eva mounted the horse. "Thank you. For everything. Thank the right people. The dead who deserved better. The living who still need justice." He stepped back. "And Evangeline, when you bring my father down, remember that Elizabeth is innocent. She is 8. She does not understand. Promise me you will protect her." "I promise." "Then go." Eva rode into the darkness, the document safe in her bag. Jonathan's words echoing in her mind. She had gone perhaps a mile when she heard it. Hoofbeats behind her, fast, pursuing. She urged the mare faster, but the rider was gaining. She risked a glance back. Caleb Strange, on a powerful gelding, closing the distance. "You," his voice carried across the night. "Stop." Eva leaned low over the mare's neck and kicked hard. The horse responded, stretching into a full gallop. But Caleb's mount was faster bred for speed where hers was bred for endurance. The creek loomed ahead, the same creek that had nearly killed her, the same water that Jesse had pulled her from. Eva made a choice born of desperation. She turned the mare toward the creek, toward the narrow bridge that crossed it. Caleb shouted behind her, "Stop or I shoot!" A gunshot cracked. The bullet whined past her head. Eva reached the bridge. The old wood groaned under the mare's hooves. She was halfway across when she heard it. Another set of hoofbeats, coming from the other direction. "Jesse!" He appeared at the far end of the bridge, rifle raised. His face was grim in the moonlight. "Caleb Strange," he called out. "That is far enough." Caleb reined in his horse at the near end of the bridge. Eva was caught between them in the middle of the narrow span, the creek churning 15 feet below. "Calhoun," Caleb's voice was tight, "this does not concern you." "A woman being hunted concerns me plenty. That woman is a thief, broke into Mr. Thornhill's house, stole documents." "Did she?" Jesse's rifle did not waver. "Or did she take what was never his to begin with? Truth does not count as theft, Caleb. You do not know what you are talking about. I know you and your men threw a woman off a bridge 2 weeks ago. Know you shot an innocent driver. Know you have been killing for Thornhill for years." Jesse's voice was cold as the creek water. "Question is, are you ready to die for him tonight?" Caleb's hand moved toward his gun. "Do not," Jesse said. "You are fast, but I am already aimed. You will be dead before you clear leather." For a moment no one moved. Eva could feel the tension thrumming through the night like a wire pulled too tight. Then Caleb spoke, and his voice was different, tired, defeated. "I did not shoot at the coach attack. I killed the driver, yes, followed orders, but I did not shoot at the girl. That was the others. That's supposed to make it better?" "No." Caleb looked at Eva. "I am tired, Calhoun. Tired of killing. Tired of watching men die for Thornhill's greed. I saw what he did to Sarah Brennan. Sweet girl. Guilty of nothing except being in the wrong place. I am the one who dumped her body in the creek." Eva's hands clenched on the reins. "I have been doing this for 8 years, Caleb continued. Told myself it was just business, just following orders. that if I did not do it, someone else would. But tonight, chasing this woman through the dark, I realized I became the thing I feared, the thing my father was, a killer for hire with no soul left. He lowered his hand away from his gun. So no, Calhoun. I am not ready to die for Victor Thornhill. I am not even ready to kill for him anymore. I am just done. Slowly, deliberately, Caleb turned his horse around. I will tell Thornhill I lost you in the dark, that you got away. It will buy you maybe a day before he figures out I let you go. Use it well. He rode back toward town without looking back. Eva and Jesse sat their horses on opposite ends of the bridge, the creek rushing below them. You came, Eva said. Jonathan got word to me, said you might need help. Jesse lowered his rifle. Did you get it? The evidence? Eva held up the bundle. All of it. Ledgers, letters, everything. Then come on. We have work to do and not much time. Eva rode across the bridge to his side. As she passed him, Jesse reached out and caught her hand, just for a moment. You scared me, he said quietly, when I heard Caleb was chasing you, when I thought I might be too late again. But you were not. Not this time. He released her hand. But Eva, we are running out of luck. Out of time. We need to move fast now. Thornhill knows someone is coming for him. He will be dangerous. Let him be dangerous. Eva's voice was steady. We have the truth, and that is more dangerous than anything he can throw at us. They rode together through the darkness toward Redemption Creek, toward the final confrontation, toward whatever justice or death awaited them. Behind them, the creek flowed on, relentless, eternal, waiting to see what bodies would float in its waters when everything was done. The night before changed everything. Eva sat in the back room of the laundry with Jesse Mayling, Deputy Webb, and Henry Polk gathered around the small table. 5 people who should have been strangers, united by grief and fury and the impossible task ahead. Outside Redemption Creek, prepared for tomorrow's spectacle. Victor Thornhill had called a town meeting. Justice would be served, he promised. The bandits who attacked the stagecoach had been caught. 3 drifters already in chains, already condemned. By sunset tomorrow they would hang, and with their deaths the official story would be sealed. No survivors, no witnesses, no Evangeline Mercer. We have one chance, Jesse said, spreading papers across the table. Henry Polk's ledgers copied in secret. Emma Webb's journal of testimonies. The notes Eva had compiled from Lily's investigation. Together they painted a picture of corruption so vast it seemed impossible. Bribes to territorial officials, payoffs to judges and sheriffs, letters ordering murders written in Thornhill's own hand, 14 men dead in a mine collapse caused by cost-cutting, a schoolteacher poisoned, a journalist shot, a senator killed in his own home, and underneath it all, the names. So many names. It is not enough, Polk said. His hands shook as he touched the papers. A good lawyer will say these are forgeries, that we fabricated evidence to attack a respected businessman. Then we need more than paper, Eva said. We need Thornhill himself. We need him to show the town who he really is. Webb leaned forward. The town meeting, if we confront him there in front of everyone. He will have 20 armed men, Mayling said quietly. We have 5. One of us is a woman. She said it without judgment, just stating fact. In 1883, Colorado, it mattered. Then we make the truth louder than bullets, Eva said. She looked at each face around the table. Tomorrow, when Thornhill stands before the town and lies about those men on the gallows, I stand up. I tell them who I am. I tell them what he did. He will kill you, Jesse said flatly. Maybe, but not before people hear the truth. Eva's voice was steady. My sister died believing that sunlight was the best disinfectant, that exposing evil to public view would destroy it. I have to believe she was right. Silence settled over the table. Then Mayling spoke in Mandarin, her words soft but firm. Jesse translated, though his Mandarin was rough. She says her husband used to say the river takes everything, but the river also reveals. Tomorrow we will see what it reveals about Victor Thornhill. They made their plans. Webb would be inside the town hall, close to the front, ready to act. Polk would stand with the mine workers, ready to verify the ledgers. Mei Ling would gather the Chinese laborers' men Thornhill had exploited for years. Jesse would position himself with a clear line of sight to Eva rifle ready, and Eva would walk into that hall and dare Victor Thornhill to silence her in front of the whole town. It was madness. It would probably get them all killed, but it was the only way. As the others left one by one, slipping into the night to avoid notice, Jesse lingered. He stood by the window looking out at the dark street, his jaw tight. "You should say it," Eva said quietly. "Say what?" "That this is suicide, that I am going to get myself killed, and you along with me, that I am being reckless and stupid and exactly like my sister." Jesse turned. In the lamplight his face was all sharp angles and shadows. "I was not going to say any of that. No. No." He moved closer. "I was going to say that Catherine would have done the same thing, would have walked into that hall and told the truth even knowing it would cost her everything. That is why I loved her. That is why Thornhill killed her." Eva's throat tightened. "I am not trying to replace her, Jesse." "I know." His voice was rough. "But you remind me of her, of the person I was when she was alive, the person who believed things could be better, who believed fighting mattered. And now I am just trying to keep you alive long enough to see if you are right." They stood close in the small room, close enough that Eva could see the silver in Jesse's hair, the scar on his jaw, the exhaustion in his eyes, close enough to reach out and touch, though neither of them did. "If this goes wrong tomorrow," Eva said, "if Thornhill wins, he will not. But if he does, I want you to know, you saved me, Jesse, not just from the creek, from giving up, from believing that the people who take lives always win." Jesse's hand found hers in the darkness between them. His fingers were calloused and warm and steady. "You saved me too. I did not know it until you climbed out of that water, but I was drowning same as you, just slower." They stood like that for a long moment, hands clasped, not speaking. Outside a dog barked. Somewhere a door slammed. Normal sounds of a normal town preparing for sleep. Tomorrow would shatter that normality. Tomorrow would be blood and truth and reckoning. But tonight, for this moment, there was just two people holding on to each other in the dark, hoping desperately that sunrise would not be the last thing they saw together. Finally, Jesse released her hand. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow you will need all your strength." "You too." He nodded and left through the back door, vanishing into shadows. Eva sat alone in the small room and tried to pray, though she had not prayed since watching her father die. Tried to find words for what she was feeling, what she was about to do. In the end, she settled for the truth. "Lily," she whispered to the empty room, "I am going to finish what you started. Either way, I will see you soon." Outside, the last lights in Redemption Creek went dark. The town slept unaware that tomorrow the flood would come. The town hall was packed by noon. Eva arrived early with Mei Ling dressed in her Rose Murphy clothes, head down, invisible. They took seats in the back near the door, close enough to see far enough to escape if needed. Jesse was somewhere outside with his rifle. Eva could not see him, but she knew he was there. Watching. Ready. The hall filled quickly. Miners and their families. Merchants. The few respectable women of Redemption Creek in their Sunday dresses. Everyone wanted to see justice done, wanted to watch the bandits hang. The three accused men were already on the stage, chained to posts. They looked terrified. Eva studied their faces and saw what she expected. Drifters. Homeless men, probably. Convenient scapegoats, easy to blame, impossible to defend. They had not attacked the stagecoach, but they would die for it anyway. At 1 o'clock, Victor Thornhill entered. He wore a fine black suit perfectly tailored. His silver hair was combed back. His boots shone. He looked every inch the respected businessman, the pillar of the community, the man who had built Redemption Creek from nothing. Eva's hands clenched in her lap. This was the man who had ordered her sister shot, her father killed, Jesse's wife poisoned, Mei Ling's husband crushed, Emma Webb thrown from a horse, 14 miners buried alive. This man standing on that stage with his kind smile and his cultured voice. Sheriff Doyle stood beside him. Caleb Strange and 6 other armed men positioned themselves around the hall. Not guards exactly, but close enough. Thornhill raised his hands for silence. The crowd settled. "Friends," he began. His voice carried to every corner of the hall, warm and fatherly. "We gather today in the name of justice. The stagecoach attack that occurred last week was a tragedy. Good people lost their lives. Innocent travelers cut down by violence." He gestured to the 3 chained men. "But thanks to Sheriff Doyle's diligent work, the perpetrators have been caught. They will hang at sunset. Redemption Creek will be safe again." Applause. People actually applauded. Eva felt sick. "Before we proceed," Thornhill continued, "I want to assure you all that your safety is my highest priority. As the primary employer in this region, I feel responsible for every soul in Redemption Creek. Your children, your families. I will do whatever it takes to protect you." More applause. Thornhill smiled, basking in it. That was when Eva stood. The movement drew eyes. People turned. In the sudden quiet, her chair scraping the floor sounded loud as a gunshot. "That is a lie, Mr. Thornhill." Her voice cut through the silence like a blade. Thornhill's smile froze. His eyes found her in the back of the hall, and something flickered across his face. Shock, recognition, fear. "I am sorry, miss," he said, recovering quickly. "Did you have something to say?" Eva walked forward, slowly, each step deliberate. People parted to let her through, curiosity on their faces. "My name," she said clearly, "is Evangeline Mercer. I was on that stagecoach, and these men did not attack it. Your men did." The hall erupted, voices shouting, people standing, Thornhill's armed men moving forward. "Miss Mercer is clearly confused," Thornhill said smoothly. "Trauma from the attack. Sheriff, please escort this poor woman." "I am not confused." Eva's voice rose above the noise. "I watched your man Caleb Strange shoot the driver. I watched them throw me from the bridge into Redemption Creek. I drowned in that water because you ordered me killed." Sheriff Doyle moved toward her. "That is enough. You are under arrest for slander." "On whose authority?" Deputy Webb stepped forward from the crowd. "I will not arrest her, Sheriff, because she is telling the truth." Doyle spun. "Deputy, stand down." "No, sir." Webb's young face was set with determination. "I was there at the coach attack. I saw what happened. I watched Caleb Strange commit murder, and I did nothing. But I am done standing by." The crowd's murmuring grew louder. Confusion, anger, people looking between Webb and Thornhill trying to understand. "This is absurd," Thornhill said, but his voice had lost some of its smoothness. "Sheriff, control your deputy." "I will control him." Doyle drew his pistol, aimed it at Webb. "Last chance, boy. Stand down, or I will put you down." "Then shoot me." Webb did not move. "But shoot me in front of all these witnesses. Let them see what justice looks like in Redemption Creek." Doyle's hand shook. For the first time, Eva saw the cracks in his loyalty. Saw the man underneath the corruption, the father pointing a gun at someone young enough to be his son. Into that moment of hesitation, Henry Polk spoke. The old accountant stepped forward from the crowd of miners. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. "Victor Thornhill has been stealing from this mine for 8 years. I know because I kept his books. The real books, not the ones he shows investors or officials." Thornhill's composure finally broke. "Henry, you are drunk. You do not know what you are saying." "I am sober for the first time in years." Polk pulled papers from his coat. "And I have proof. Every bribe, every payoff, every murder he ordered, including my daughter's name on a list of potential problems to be removed if she ever came back to Redemption Creek." The crowd's noise became a roar. People shouting questions, miners pushing forward, angry, demanding answers. Mei Ling stood, her small figure commanding attention despite her size. My husband died in the cave-in of 1879. Thornhill said it was accident, but it was murder, bad timber, cost-cutting, 14 men crushed because one man wanted more profit. These are lies, Thornhill shouted. But he was losing control. Eva could see it in his eyes and the way he stepped back toward the stage exit. All of you working together to destroy me because of jealousy, because you are a murderer. The new voice came from the side door. Everyone turned. A young man stood there, 17, maybe 18. Dark hair, good clothes. His face was pale but determined. Jonathan Thornhill, Victor's son. Jonathan, Victor's voice cracked. What are you doing? What I should have done months ago. Jonathan walked forward, and Eva saw he carried something. A leather portfolio. I have been documenting your crimes, Father, for a year. Photographs of your ledgers, copies of your letters, everything. Victor's face went white. You do not know what you are doing, boy. These people are using you. No one is using me. Jonathan's voice was steady despite the tears on his face. I am finally being honest. About you. About what you have done. About how you killed Sarah Brennan when she saw too much. About how you are planning to kill these 3 innocent men to cover your tracks. He turned to the crowd. My father is not the man he pretends to be. He is a killer, and I will not protect him anymore. The silence that followed was absolute. A son condemning his father. In front of the whole town. Nothing could come back from that. Victor Thornhill stood frozen on the stage, his world collapsing around him. Then another voice broke the silence. This one female cultured sad. Neither will I. Abigail Thornhill entered through the main doors. Victor's wife, mother to Jonathan. She wore a traveling dress and carried a small case. Abigail, Victor's voice was barely a whisper. I have been working with federal marshals for 18 months, Victor. Her voice was calm, matter-of-fact. Passing them information, building a case. They are on their way now. They should arrive within the hour. Victor swayed on his feet. You have been waiting for the right moment, gathering evidence, making sure that when you fell completely. Abigail's face was carved from ice. Did you think I did not know? About the murders? About Catherine Calhoun? Emma Webb? Lily Mercer? About all of them? I have lived with a monster for 20 years, Victor. I just needed proof strong enough that even your money could not buy your freedom. The hall erupted again, but this time the anger had a target. Miners surging forward, families of dead men demanding justice, the carefully controlled facade of Redemption Creek shattering like glass. No, Victor backed toward the stage door. You cannot. I built this town. You own nothing. Ava's voice cut through the chaos. You took lives, you took futures, you took my sister, but you do not own the truth, and the truth is all that matters now. Victor's eyes found her across the crowd. In them, Eva saw pure hatred. You should have stayed dead, Evangeline Mercer. Perhaps, but I did not. Victor drew a pistol from beneath his coat. The crowd screamed, people diving for cover. Then I will finish what I started. Father, no. The voice was small, terrified. A child's voice. Everyone froze. Elizabeth Thornhill ran through the chaos, 8 years old, in a blue dress. Blonde curls flying. She grabbed her father's arm with both hands. Papa, please. Please do not hurt anyone. Please. Victor's face crumpled. The gun wavered in his hand. For 3 heartbeats he looked down at his daughter, and Eva saw something human flicker in his eyes. Love. Real love. Elizabeth, go to your mother. Not until you put the gun down. Miss Davis says guns are dangerous. You always tell me to be safe. The hall held its breath. A father, a daughter, a choice. I am sorry, Elizabeth, Victor whispered. His hand tightened on the pistol. But some things have to be done, even when they hurt. He gently pushed her away, raised the gun again toward Eva. Papa, no. The shot never came. Jesse's rifle cracked from outside the hall. The window shattered. Victor's gun spun from his hand, his wrist shattered by the bullet. Elizabeth screamed. Abigail rushed forward and pulled the child away, sheltering her from the sight of her father's blood. He screamed and fell. Caleb Strange and the other guards moved, drawing weapons, but they found themselves surrounded by miners, by townspeople, by every person who had been exploited and abused and silenced for too long. "It is over, Caleb." Deputy Webb said, his own gun trained on the foreman. "Drop your weapons or this becomes a massacre." For a long moment, no one moved. The hall held its breath. Then Caleb lowered his pistol. "I am done," he said quietly. "Done killing for him. Done with all of it." The other guards followed suit. Victor Thornhill knelt on the stage, cradling his shattered wrist, and watched his empire crumble. Watched his son turn away. Watched his wife walk out without a backward glance. Watched the town he thought he owned rise up and reject him. Deputy Webb stepped forward with shackles. "Victor Thornhill, I am arresting you for murder, conspiracy, bribery, and about 20 other crimes. You have the right to save it." Victor's voice was hollow. "I know my rights. I paid enough lawyers to write them." As Webb secured the shackles, Eva walked slowly to the stage. She looked down at the man who had tried to kill her, who had killed so many others. "My sister believed the truth mattered," she said. "She died for that belief. But she was right. The truth did set us free. It just took longer than she thought." Victor looked up at her with eyes full of venom. "You think you have won? My lawyers will tear this apart." He laughed, a bitter sound. "Your sister was shot, Miss Mercer. Clean shot to the head. Professional. Quick. You were the one we drowned, or tried to." Eva's fists clenched. The hall went silent, everyone listening. "Your sister Lily died because she would not stop asking questions," Victor continued. "Gave her every chance to walk away. Offered her money, threatened her. Nothing worked, so we put a bullet in her brain. But you," his eyes burned into Eva's, "you, we threw in the creek, watched you sink, watched the water take you, and somehow you survived what your sister did not. Ironic, is it not?" Eva's voice shook with rage. "She died for the truth, and now the truth will bury you." "Perhaps." Victor's smile was cold. "But she is still dead, and I got to watch you drown. That is worth something even from a prison cell." Eva turned away before she did something she would regret. "You will never sleep peacefully again, Victor Thornhill, because now everyone knows what you are, and that is worth more than any prison sentence." She turned away, walked through the crowd. People parted for her, some touching her shoulder, some whispering thanks. Outside, Jesse waited with his rifle. "It is done," Eva said. "It is done," he agreed. They stood together in the late afternoon sun and watched as federal marshals rode into town, summoned by Abigail's telegrams. Watched as Victor Thornhill was led out in chains, his face a mask of rage and defeat. Watched as Redemption Creek began the long process of healing from the wound that had festered at its heart. The trials took 3 months. Eva stayed through all of them, testifying alongside Webb, Polk, Mei Ling, and dozens of others. The evidence was overwhelming. Thornhill's lawyers fought hard, but even money could not bury truth that deep. Victor Thornhill was sentenced to life in the territorial prison. Caleb Strange turned state's witness and received 20 years. Sheriff Doyle was stripped of his badge and given 15 years for corruption and complicity in murder. Jonathan Thornhill, despite his youth, was allowed to testify against his father. The judge, seeing the boy's courage and pain, ruled his evidence admissible. After the trial, Abigail took Jonathan and Elizabeth to Denver. A fresh start, she said, away from Redemption Creek and the shadow of their father's crimes. Eva received one letter from Jonathan 6 months later. It was brief. "Elizabeth asks about father sometimes. I tell her he made bad choices and is paying for them. She does not understand yet, maybe when she is older. Thank you for keeping your promise. You protected her from the worst of it. That matters. Jonathan." The mine was reorganized into a cooperative owned by the workers. Henry Polk, sober now and clear-eyed, helped manage the transition. Mei Ling received restitution for her husband's death and used it to expand her laundry into a legitimate business. Deputy Thomas Webb was appointed the new sheriff of Redemption Creek. And Eva wrote. She wrote the story her sister had died trying to tell. Blood in the Water. The Thornhill mining murders was published in newspapers across the territory and then the country. It sparked reforms in mining safety laws. It prompted investigations into other corrupt operations. Lily's death had not been in vain. But Eva found no joy in the victory, only a hollow satisfaction that felt too much like grief. Spring came to Colorado. The snow melted. The passes opened. Eva stood at the train station with a single bag, the same carpet bag she had carried when she first came to Redemption Creek. Everything she owned fit inside it, everything except the weight she carried in her heart. Jesse walked up the platform toward her. He had cleaned up, shaved, wore clothes that were not work-worn and dusty. He looked younger somehow, or maybe just less haunted. "You are really leaving," he said. "Denver first, then maybe back east. I have more stories to write, more truths to uncover." Eva tried to smile. "Lily would have wanted me to continue her work." "And what do you want?" It was a fair question. Eva looked at Jesse, at this man who had saved her life twice, who had stood beside her through everything, who had become something she did not want to name, because naming it would make leaving harder. "I want to stay," she said honestly. "But I cannot, not yet. There is too much work left to do, too many stories that need telling." "I know," Jesse's voice was rough, "and I want to ask you to stay anyway, to choose me over the work. But that would make me no better than the men who tried to silence your sister. You are nothing like them. I know that too." He stepped closer. "So I am going to say something else instead. I am going to say come back, when the work is done, when the stories are told. Come back to Redemption Creek. Why? Because I will be here, rebuilding my ranch, helping this town become what it should have been all along, living instead of hiding." He took her hand. "And because I love you, Evangeline Mercer. I have loved you since I pulled you from that creek. Maybe before." Ava's eyes filled with tears. "Jesse, you do not have to say it back. You do not have to promise anything. Just know that when you are ready, if you are ever ready, there is a place here for you, a home, a life." He squeezed her hand. "A man who will wait as long as it takes." The train whistle blew. 5 minutes to departure. Eva stood on her toes and kissed him. It was not gentle or tentative. It was fierce and desperate and full of everything she could not say. When she pulled back, Jesse's eyes were bright. "I will come back," she whispered. "I do not know when, but I will. I will be here." She boarded the train, found a window seat, watched Jesse standing on the platform as the train began to move, his hand raised in farewell. Eva pressed her hand to the glass. The train picked up speed. Redemption Creek fell away behind her. The mountains rose ahead, snow still capping their peaks, beautiful and dangerous and full of promise. She pulled out her journal and opened to a fresh page, began to write. "They say you cannot outrun your past, but maybe you do not have to. Maybe you just need someone to stand with you when you turn and face it." Outside the window, Colorado rolled past in shades of green and gold and blue. Somewhere behind her, Jesse Calhoun stood on a platform and watched the train disappear. Somewhere ahead, there were more stories to tell, more truths to uncover, more battles to fight. But for now, for this moment, Eva let herself feel the weight of what had been accomplished. The justice won, the lives avenged. Lily would have been proud. Eva closed her eyes and whispered to the sister she would never see again. "I did it, Lily. I finished what you started, and I am going to keep going. For you, for all of them." The train carried her east toward Denver, toward whatever came next. Behind her, Redemption Creek began its slow transformation from a town built on blood to something cleaner, something better. It would take years, maybe generations. But the flood had come, the truth had risen, and in the end, that was what mattered. 1 year later, a woman rode into Redemption Creek on a spring morning when the wildflowers were blooming and the creek ran clear and cold. She dismounted in front of a ranch house that had not been there before. New timber, fresh paint, a porch with chairs that looked like they were waiting for someone. Jesse Calhoun came out of the barn. He stopped when he saw her, stood perfectly still for 3 heartbeats. Then he walked toward her. Eva met him halfway. They did not speak. There were no words for this moment, for a promise kept, for a home found, for 2 people who had drowned and learned to breathe again. Jesse took her face in his hands and kissed her the way a man kisses a woman he thought he might never see again. When they finally parted, Eva was crying and laughing at the same time. "I finished the book," she said. "Published it last month. Reforms are passing, things are changing." "I know. I read every word. The work is not done. It will never be done. But I thought maybe I could do some of it from here, if the offer still stands." Jesse smiled. It was the first real smile Eva had seen on his face, unguarded and full of hope. "The offer stands. Will always stand." Eva looked past him to the ranch house, to the mountains beyond, to the creek that had nearly killed her and somehow saved her at the same time. "Then I am home," she said. Jesse took her hand and led her toward the house, toward the life they would build together. Not a replacement for what they had lost, but something new. Something earned through blood and truth and stubborn refusal to let evil win. Behind them, Redemption Creek flowed on, clear water over smooth stones, the blood washed away at last, and above it all the Colorado sky stretched endless and blue and full of promise for anyone brave enough to look up. The flood had come and gone. What remained was clean. What remained was true. What remained was enough. The end.